counter punch. Telling him not to counter punch. Telling him not to counter punch. Telling him not to counter punch. A beautiful morning to you. Welcome to Atlantic Television Network Sports Personality Show, and we're very happy to be here once again to bring you another sports personality on today's edition of the show. My name is Kingsley Mado, and I'm very happy, of course, to be here on today, being the 12th of August 2023, and it's a special edition because we'll be talking about a footballer down here in Nigeria, and his name is Samuel Chukwuma Okaraji. Of course, today, the 12th of August, makes it exactly 34 years since the exit of Nigeria's first football manager. Talking about Samuel Chukwuma Okaraji, and that's why we're going to take a look at all that he did during his lifetime down here, on Earth, and everything, of course, that transpired, that led to his death, and we'll take a look at his on-field activities as well, and his family. So a whole lot, of course, to take a look at, Samuel Chukwuma Okaraji today on the show. We're going to take a look at all that he did and the legacies, of course, he laid behind. So it promises to be an exciting edition of the show. Take a short break now, and when we come back, of course, unravel all that you need to know about the Samuel Chukwuma Okaraji. Stay with us.
to counterpunch. Telling him not to counterpunch.
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics,
Nobody's ambition is what's the blood.
I have fought very firmly.
natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
You human trafficker.
Honorable
You are a human.
They are not picking our calls. They made up their minds.
So no agreement with the EU, but
telling him not to counterpunch.
You're welcome back as the ATN Sports Personality Show, and I told you we're going to be taking a look at the life of Samuel Sochukuma Okaraji. Joining me on today's edition of the show is one man you know so well, Emmanuel Michael. Good morning to you and welcome to ATN Sports Personality Show.
Yeah, good morning, Kingsley, and good morning to our viewers out there. It's a beautiful day out here, but indeed, am I really happy? Happy somehow, not happy somehow, because the person that we're about to, talk about, today is one man that made Nigerians proud, but unfortunately, he has to, die unexpectedly.
All right, we'll take a look at all of that, on the show, how he lost, his life while serving his father's land, talking about Nigeria, but let's take a look at, his early life. Samuel Sochukuma Okaraji was born in Olu, Imo State on May 19th, 1964. He was an extremely gifted footballer who played as a midfielder, detecting the tempo for the game. He was a master of the ball and possessed an energy level opponents found difficult to deal with. Okaraji was indeed the undisputed star for the Green Eagles team. Now, apart from being excellent on the football field, the Olu athlete was also a gifted scholar, bagging a degree in law from the University of Rome, Italy, and on the verge of earning a doctorate around the period the game was played. He was indeed a special breed for a sportsman, and Okaraji was the fourth of 7 children. He was quite brilliant right from his primary school and was excellent in his academics. Now, he was very active and started teaching his peers from class 4. He left Nigeria immediately after his secondary education under the sponsorship of his uncle who lives in Port Harcourt and was Okaraji's mentor. Now, he sent Okaraji to the University of Rome for his first degree in law, where he made first class. He immediately had his master's in international law from the University of Rome, also graduating with distinction as well. During this time, he played with the academy team of AS Roma as at that time. So that is just, a few of what we can bring to you about the early life of Samuel Okaraji. But I don't know what you make of, his early life. Talking about Samuel Okaraji at the moment, was a very, very brilliant young boy as a den. Was a very good footballer, and was also good, with the pen and paper as well.
Definitely very brilliant kid, you must say, while growing up. Born on the, 19th of May, 1964. Very brilliant, you must say. While growing up, he showed his interest in education, because he take it so serious that at a point, even at his junior school level at primary 4, he was already tutoring some other of his pupils out there. So he had a very wonderful footballing career as well. Even at the tender age, he fell in love with football, and not just football, but also in basketball, according to the mother, Lady Janet. But as time goes on, he had to pick more interest and passion in football. And he delved into that area. But before he went into professional football, he was born in Olo, just like you said. Olo is a local government in Imo State, which is at the eastern part of Nigeria here. So that is where he was born. Did his primary school at Enugu State, WTC primary school at Enugu State, before heading back to Imo State, to do his secondary school. And after his secondary school, he also attended a federal government college as well, before coming down to Port Harcourt here to meet the uncle who actually sponsored him overseas to continue his education at Rome. While pursuing his academic study as well, he was also playing for the AS Roma junior team as well. That is to tell you the kind of talents that he had, that while even schooling, he was also engrafted into the AS Roma team as at then. And AS Roma as at then was one of the biggest football club there in Italy, as it were. And for you to be spotted with such a talent as a black man, as a then, you know what that means before he was spotted, to be engrafted, into the AS Roma, football team. While combining football and education together, you perform excellently in both aspects, both on the pitch, off the pitch, both in the classroom as well. That is why he backed his master's degree, even also a law degree as well. And before his death, he was heading for his PhD. Before death, unfortunately, came calling.
Interesting. Talking about his hometown, talking about Olu, did he had any way of influencing his choice of playing football?
Well, definitely we say yes, because although in Imo State, don't forget, the primary school that, secondary school that he attended, then they usually host this kind of sport activity, because this is the grassroots where talents were discovered. These things just went away this time around, this very age, because then if you want to harness good talent, you go down to the primary school, secondary school sport competition or festival in quote. So out there in his secondary school where he attended in Oluse, there are different categories of competition when it has to do with sport that they take part there. And Imo State in general are filled of men and women of sports inclined. So you will say definitely that where he grew up contributed a whole lot, to his footballing development, because out there in his secondary school they had, a sport competition or festival, I want to put it that way, that they took part, and there are other great sport personnel that also take part in that sport activity, and that might have motivated him also to pick interest and passion, develop more passion for the game that he loves so much.
What about the parents? You grew up with the parents, just like we saw. Did they actually give him that needed support? Do you think they gave him that needed support, as at that time? Because from what we've seen, I think we didn't see any bridges between him and his parents when it comes to his choice, his career choice.
Exactly. His parents, I would say, influenced him a lot in a way. Why? Because his parents was actually they came from this background, or educational background. That is to say that his parent is a little bit enlightened. So you want to say that they gave him the free hand to be able to choose where his destiny lies, or where his passion lies. But I must emphasize here that the parent was very, very keen on him pursuing his educational career, because the father
was very brilliant.
Very brilliant. The father was actually Mr. David, who worked with the then defunct Nigerian Airways. He served as a duty officer, while the mother, Lady Janet, was a retired school headmistress. So you see the background to which the parent is coming from. It was an enlightened background, so that afforded the parent time to allow their son pursue the angle to which he feel that this is where his destiny and passion lies. But that is not to take away the fact that they actually emphasize so much in him taking his study very serious. And you see the reason why, even when he finished his secondary school duty, the uncle as well knew the importance of education. So the uncle never wanted him to stop at that point. He had to invite him over down here in Port Harcourt and sent him to Rome to continue his study. He didn't send him there to continue playing football, but primarily to continue his study. That is to tell you the kind of background to which he comes from. Is this background that enlightened, they know education, a key in their world to go through the four walls of tertiary institution. And that is why we see him being one of the brilliant students. Even out there in Rome, he performed this, he showcased his educational excellence by coming first, getting first class degree in all of his programs. So it is not very strange that the parent contributed a whole lot to both his footballing career and educational career. Because if the parents were not contributive to that angle, I think at a point in time they should have told him to stop playing football and focus solely on education to which they're sending. But they allow him to make his choice, and it is very wise that these days parents should allow their kids to actually make their choice. What you do as a parent is to pay keen attention, pay close attention, a keen interest to whatever you feel that your child, while growing, the child takes interest. Is it in dancing? Is it in music? Is it in football? Just name them. All you do is to give him that ample opportunity and follow him or her up with keen interest. If you discover the area or the angle to which you feel your child is very, very perfect, support the child in that angle, and in future time to come, the result will be evident.
Definitely, of course, we saw that huge support from the parents and guidance for Samuel Okaraji, and of course, with that level of support, he was able to take his game up to another level, which, of course, we saw in his education and his football career as well. It was such a lovely one for Samuel Okaraji, while growing up, as a son. Was very brilliant in class and was also good in the round and leather game, as a stand. But Michael, you will talk about the background. The parents, of course, the headmistress and the father, of course, working with an airline company, and all of that. I think they were doing well. But do you think that with the profile or the status of his parents at that time actually gave him, the edge of getting this far? Because as at then, traveling outside the country is actually a whole lot.
Yeah.
And we didn't actually get a story if he maybe got his scholarship, whatever. It was, I think, from the pockets of for his parents, as at that time. Do you think, the status of his parents and even the uncle we talked about, actually gave him this push, also?
Definitely, we say yes to that. The status of the parent at that point in time in the community, at least, was that of respectable. They were not feeding from hand to mouth.
Because those days, it was people that their parents, has a lot of money that travel outside the country.
Definitely, definitely. So you say that the parents, they were averagely rich. You will not say that they are rich or that, but they were not lacking.
Or sometimes the community comes out to contribute
money and send and send one brilliant student to outside to study, because they feel that if that one student goes outside to study, at least it will be for the generality of the community. So, but at this point in time, the parent, like we wrote that earlier, the father was working as an officer in the then defunct Nigerian Airway, while the mom is a retired headmistress. You know what it means as at that time if you are occupying this kind of government position, and actually you retired, the benefit that comes with it. And as at then, at least the economy was a little bit organized to some certain extent, that even when the parent retired, you are rest assured that you are going to get your pension, your gratuity as that when due, compared to now that you retire for 50 years and for the next 200 years before you could get your pension and gratuity. So for me, I think the background of the parent actually went a whole long way to make way for him to, leaving the shores of Nigeria to go to abroad to continue his education. And the uncle here is also, at least well-to-do. That is why the uncle had to bring him down to Port Harcourt to be able to, source for money and send him outside the country. So we say yes, that the parents contribute a lot to Nigeria to study.
We have Kunle Soloja joining us this morning. Good morning to you, Mr. Kunle Soloja.
Good morning.
All right, you're welcome to ATN Sports Personality Show. We're taking a look at the life of Samuel Sochukuma Okaraji. Today, the 12th of August, makes it exactly 34 years since the exit of the Nigerian first football match. I talked about Samuel Sochukuma Okaraji. I know you know him a bit. Can you tell us what you know about Samuel Okaraji?
Well, I may not know so much about his personal life, his private life, but his football life, yes, I can speak about it. And he was actually very passionate for Nigeria to qualify for the 1990 World Cup, holding in a country where he had had a part of his professional career. So it has been a very glamorous situation for him to be back in Italy as a World Cup. That never came because the first time he played at the National Stadium was the last time he lived. So that was very, very unfortunate. And this was somebody who played for the first time for Nigeria in an Olympic qualifier in Enugu, I think Nigeria versus Algeria. Yeah. So, and until recently, he scored what we can call the fastest goal in the African Cup of Nations when he scored under 30 seconds in the Morocco 88 Group B match between Nigeria and Cameroon. So that was the fastest goal that Nigeria ever scored in the African Cup of Nations, and it was the fastest goal until recently when that record was surpassed. So that's all I can say, at least for now, about his football career. But he was a bubbling midfielder who really was very tireless. And as a matter of fact, in the match that actually took his life, he was probably the only inspiring player on the field that day, because if you can recall, the match was a drab one, Nigeria versus Angola, and both sides, both Nigeria and Angola, losing a penalty kick each. But the match was from the penalty kick. So, but it was very, very sad that he lost his life that day. And like I will always tell Nigerians, he was not the only person that died that day. His death was just the high point of the tragedy that day, because 5 other fans died even before Kwaraji died. So it was a very tragic day for Nigerian football.
You talked about 5 fans, losing their life on that particular day. What actually, of course, warranted their death?
Well, as you may know, that that match was played at the National Stadium, Lagos. The National Stadium, Lagos, and the Liberty Stadium in Ibadan had been shut down for almost 30 months for renovation in anticipation of Nigeria hosting the 1991 World Youth Championship, now called the FIFA Under-21 World Cup. So the 2 stadiums were shut down for renovation. And that match of August 12, 1989 was the first match to be played at the National Stadium, Lagos. Even the Liberty Stadium, when the Green Eagles or the Super Eagles then were playing their qualifying matches, they were not even using the Liberty Stadium. They were using the Adamasingba Stadium in Ibadan. So the fact that Lagosians have been starved of football action, top-flight football action for almost 30 months, and that match, a World Cup qualifier, which it was a must-win for Nigeria to be in contention to qualify for Italia 90, having lost about 2 weeks earlier to Gabon, 2-1 in Libreville. And then for us to be able to top that group, which had Nigeria, Cameroon, Gabon, and Angola, we needed to win that home match against Angola and be hoping to be able to draw our next, which was the last group match, in Yaoundé against Cameroon.
Yes.
But as it happened, because people were so expectant, that stadium was jam-packed. More than you actually have inside. I think tickets were oversold, and there was so much publicity for the match that the place was choked up. And before you know it, from Chauvin, we have people now being choked to death. At least 5 of them were carried out of the stadium dead. And so 10 minutes to the end of the match, that was when the biggest tragedy of the day happened, when Okwaraji suddenly, without any contact with anyone, just slumped and died. And as at the time he died, there was actually it was a stoppage time because an Angolan footballer was down and was being attended to. And standing alone like this, Okaraji just slumped, faced up. And the nearest Nigerian player to him was, I think, Samson Siasia.
Yeah.
The moment he got to where he was and he put his hands on his head, it was obvious that something bad must have happened. Because what later happened was that he put his hand on his head and he tried to lift him up. By the time the medics came there, I think he must have died, because the following day, I spoke with one of the doctors that attended to him. And what he said was that he died fast and that he must have died on the pitch. So by the time they took him out, nobody probably knew something, such a bad thing must have happened. They said, I went down because I was writing for a magazine then, African Concord magazine. So hoping to know what must have happened to you. By the time I got to the health center at the stadium, the windows were shut. Nobody was able to enter. But by the time I peeped through the window and I saw Angus Ikeji lamenting, rolling on the floor, I knew something bad must have happened. It was then that it was confirmed that Samuel Okaraji had died.
So sad, so sad, so sad. The story just being repeated. Michael is a very sad one, no, as it stands. Where he died at the age of 25, Soloja, and from what we were able to get, that it was through congestive, heart failure. Could it be that there was no much ventilation in the stadium?
Well, ventilation would not have affected the player on the pitch because it was an open field. I think what they said was that he had cardiac arrest. And I remember quoting a former Nigerian international now, who is also vast in sports, that's Pate Keji, who told me some years ago that he actually advised the fielding of Samuel Okaraji for that match because he had been inactive for some time. I think the season had ended, I think in May, and that match played in August was his first match of the season. So, and that naturally he was not well conditioned for that match and that he should not have played that match. But by and large, let's leave that one. The most important thing was that when autopsy was conducted, because I followed up at the Lagos General Hospital in Lagos Island, one of the things that was discovered that was that he had an enlarged heart, which means something must have happened to his heart that must have caused his death.
All right, sir. This is very, very interesting. A whole lot to unravel about Samuel Okaraji on the show. But Kunle Soluja, thank you very much for giving us that much updates on his death. But still talk about his early life. We hear he was also combining education with his football career. How was he able to manage that?
Well, some players combine academics with their football career. We have one in the Nigerian Super Falcon, Michel Alose, who's actually pursuing a course in medical line and at the same time still blossoming in his football career. So such instances are not very, though not very common, but they do happen when you see brilliant people who also combine their academics with playing career. Even in Nigeria, we have Segun Odegbami, who was very brilliant in school. We have Felix Owola. We have Adoki, who was a law time he was playing for the then Green Eagles, the national team. So we've had such instances of people combining academics with their playing career. So I'm not too surprised about that for him, but just unfortunate that the dream of playing in Italy and as a world player never materialized.
We also heard that he was very, very patriotic, to Nigeria. You were there, and of course, you saw him very well. How patriotic, was he at that time?
Well, to have even volunteered to play for Nigeria is a symbol of patriotism. And you know, there was a time that any time we have football award or any sports award, when it comes to that of patriotism, it is always tagged with Samuel Okparaji. I say Samuel Okparaji's award for fair play or for patriotism. So that indicates how patriotic he was to play for Nigeria, in spite of the fact that there was no insurance cover for him, because his club, the club he was playing for, actually said that he was in Nigeria to play that match on his own volition. So the insurance cover offered to players by his club never did not cover that match in which he died, and that was why there was nothing for his family when he died.
Talking about his family, let's take a look at himself once again, because I don't know if Nigeria or the federal government has actually done something, of course, to put up his remembrance, at a time like this, because this was exactly the day he died in the month of August. Has there been anything like immortalizing his image, and all of that, in the country?
Well, apart from a statue purportedly depicting Okaraji that is at the face head of the National Stadium in Lagos, I don't think any other thing had been done. So that's quite unfortunate, and that will most likely affect the patriotism of Nigerian sportsmen, knowing fully well that, especially since playing for the national team, there's hardly any insurance cover. So nothing. I mean, precisely to be candid, nothing was done.
Nothing was done. But how about his family at the moment? Are they doing well at all? I don't know if you have any.
I don't know much about his family. The only thing I know is that his mother was reportedly to have died, I think 3 or 4 years ago. That's all I know.
Interesting. All right, Jam. We're taking a look at Samuel Okaraji at the moment, because this was exactly the day he died, 12th of August. And taking a look at this, what do you think the federal government should do, or the sports ministry, to make sure that a man like this is always remembered and given proper reference at any time?
Considering the circumstances of his death and the fact that it was also playing for Nigeria in a World Cup qualifier, in which before that time we never qualified for the World Cup. I think there should have been a monument in his honor, even if it's just a tribune at any of our major stadiums, especially Lagos National Stadium where he died. Maybe something should have been named after him. Maybe a press center or a gymnasium, if they cannot, because naming the whole stadium after somebody now is becoming acronym, because it's now becoming a major marketing right to name a whole stadium after someone, because now they make money from that. So Nigeria may also want to toe the line, the global trend. But what they should do is that there should be something, especially at that national stadium, named after him. Could be the Nigerian Olympic Committee building, or the association's building, or the indoor sports hall, or anything. But the fact that he died on that turf, and I've not had any instance where a turf is named after anybody. Otherwise, the naming that turf, the deal. But I've never had an instance where that one has been a project or a facility at that stadium after Samuel Okparaji.
Interesting one, let's just take this one before I let you go. What do you make of football down here in Nigeria? Because take a look at the way Okaraji died. I think if the medical team probably gave him immediate attention, maybe there could have been a means. We've heard of players. One player in the Nigerian Premier League, I think last 3 seasons or 4 seasons ago, that died, on the pitch as well, due to lack of immediate, medication, and all of that. Do you think the Nigerian football system has been able to tackle this issue?
First and foremost, I think I align with the thought that Samuel Okoraji actually died on the turf, because the next day, after 13th August 1989, when the National Sports Festival was to commence in Lagos, I spoke with one of the doctors who confirmed, who said that he died fast, and that what they carried out of the pitch was probably a dead body, because even Samson Siasa said he was foaming in the mouth, as at the time he was the closest Nigerian player to him. He said he was already foaming in the mouth. I don't know what that means in medical parlance, so he must have died. So for him, maybe nothing much would have been done that day, but the doctor was among the medics that attended to him on the pitch. And also remember that he was not the first on-field tragedy that we have recorded in Nigeria. There's been one idiot of railway, David Omofeye, who died as far back as 1954 at the then Association Ground, which is now the Mobolaji Johnson Arena in Lagos, Onikon, Lagos. And also, I don't know whether there is any correlation between that tragedy that consumed Okoraji and 5 other fans at the stadium. If you also recall that that incident happened on the eve of a similar tragedy at the National Stadium, Lagos. On the eve of the 10th anniversary. Because in 1979, August 13, the semi-final of the Challenge Cup at that stadium, to involving IIC, the then IICC Shooting Stars and Beden Insurance, had its own share of tragedy when 24 fans were trampled to death in that floodlit match, when the floodlights suddenly went off. But by and large, coming back to your question of probably application of instant medical facility at our stadiums, I think we don't have, because even if you go through what the medics also always carry to the stadium at our league matches, it's mainly sachet water, ice sachet water and bag, and that's the only thing we have. But in other climes, you have an ambulance ready on standby in case there is an instance where there is the need for evacuation of somebody to a hospital. You go to Morocco, for instance. Now, the Football Federation of Morocco has its own ambulance. I saw it. It's not that I was told. I saw it, and I've been to Morocco. I've seen the facilities there. And you need to also go to the King Mohammed VI football complex. The health center they have there can even perform a major surgical operation. So that is where we should move into. And today in Nigeria, you will hear a player transferring from one club to the other, but you never heard about medics that player is going through medical research or to do any medical examination of such person. Once you see, you just spot a good player, you say yes, we are signing so player. But you look at what happened to Kanu. Thank God Kanu is alive today. Yeah. After that Atlanta 96, and he was to transfer to Inter Milan, it was there that they discovered that he has heart defect, which ordinarily wasn't heart threatening, but was career threatening. So he had to go to US for a surgical operation. If there had been no medical examination on Kanu, maybe we will have been talking about a different. That is what I want the Nigerian Football Federation to institutionalize, to have every player registered for a particular season. You must show a good certificate of good health for you to be eligible to play in the league. We've had instances of on-field death in the Nigerian league, and so we need to avert such things.
Thank you very much, Kule Soloja. We really do appreciate your time with us on the show.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure.
All right, sir. Thank you. Really, that was a huge one, from Kule Soloja about Samuel, Okaraji. Michael, what do you make of all that he has said?
Well, for me, I think it was a very tragic, from all what he has said, I think, he's a son who was patriotic to the extent that, in fact, he put, his national team first. He put his country first before any other thing. I could remember one certain time he was about to come and represent his national team, and his club then, SSV, told the Nigerian Football Authority, that they cannot get their star man, and they went on roundtable negotiation. The club has to find the NFA, as it were then called, $45,000 before they can be able to release Samuel Okaraji, who was then their star man, as it were, because this $45,000 that they demanded from the NFA was to cover for the match bonuses and for the ticket sales that Samuel Okaraji should have attracted, when they are having a match, because there seems that fans turn out much more when Okaraji, will be on the first 11, will be on the starting lineup. So the club authority said, no, if you want to take this player, you have to pay us $45,000 for the money that we are going to lose for the period that is not going to render services to us, because we know the gate fee that his presence alone brings. As at then, the authority had to negotiate and even price $15,000. But when Okaraji learned of this information, he moved straight down to the office, and met the boss and told the boss, I know I have a contract with you, but that contract that I've signed with this very club does not include me selling my services to my own country. That no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to pick my bags and baggage and to go and represent my country for the Italian 1990 World Cup qualifier. And I hope I'll see you there. That is what he told them, because then Italy was where he was applying his trade, and it was Italy that this World Cup is built to hold. At the end of the whole thing, he told them that he wished to meet you guys there at the World Cup. So for me, he left, took his money and paid his fare down here to play the game.
Very patriotic. Very
patriotic, you must say. And at the time, when he's not even invited at the national team, he still pays his flight down there and be pleading with the coach and say, Coach, can you please throw the jerseys open? That is why we begin to hear of throwing camps open this day. The phrase one we used to use right now, sports journalism, throwing the camp open. It was actually Samuel Okaraji who invented that idea. Naturally, when he's not called up, he pays his thief down to the camp and plead with the coach. Coach, please, can you throw the jerseys open so that people will come and fight for the jerseys? No, as one of these occasions, the jerseys were thrown open and, boom. That is how he picked his first national, call-up in that Olympic qualifier against Algeria in 1988, which he went ahead to play in that game and even played 3 other games in the major, Olympic games as it were then. That is to tell you how patriotic it were, then. And I could also remember some of the players that he lined up with on the day of this very unfortunate incident. The likes of Etimesen, the likes of Godfrey Edobo, the likes of even the late Stephen Kechi, Samson Siasia, Eguavon, Uchenna Okafor. These are big name players then, that when you talk about the Green Eagles and you hear the names of these players, you are rest assured that indeed Green Eagles is going to do us proud. And this match that led to his death was one of the most contented games. It was like a make or mar game against Angola, that we need to win that game. But on the 77th minute, that is where the unfortunate issue actually happened, when he slumped down. And the later end of it was that we heard that it was a congested heart issue. And they said, he had an enlarged heart, and it makes it difficult for his heart to be able to pump blood, into the heart, which will circulate to different other body. And you know what it means? if you are in a automobile section, engine, for example, or a vehicle, when the pump of the engine fails, it automatically means that the engine will be unable to pump oil to circulate through the engines, which is the heart of the automobile, the car here. And when the pump fails, automatically it will knock the engine. It means that the engine has condemned. So when the heart of Samuel Okparaji was unable to pump blood so as to circulate to different other parts of the body, the incident happened where he collapsed, and died. And the rest, they say, is history. It was very painful. And actually, that match, his death actually cost us not to qualify for that Italian World Cup, because in 15 days time we're supposed to play Cameroon at Yaoundé, which would have also given us a major boost. But unfortunately, some players were scared to board the plane to go down to Yaoundé and play the remaining last game, because they were afraid that our colleague died on the pitch of play. 15 days. And some of the players were afraid. The likes of Rufai, Peter Rufai, and some other big name players as well. They refused, going with some of the players down to prosecute the last game at Yaoundé, and that is how we lost the game, to the Indomitable Lions, and it was very painful.
Impressive word, and I hope we were able to get a hold of about Samuel Okparaji. Of course, he played for AS Roma. He also played for NK Dynamo Zagreb, Austria Klagenfurt as well, SS Beast. He also played for Stuttgart. These were the different teams he played for, and there's been it was really an impressive one during his time as a footballer. And of course, I hope we've been able to unravel a whole lot for you. I think especially those who were born during the 2000s and 1990s, they've been able to, of course, learn a lot when it comes to this one about Samuel Okparaji. Was he really married? Because we hear he was married to Jane, who is now based in in Imo State as well. Of course, he has a PhD, and was very, very good, when it comes to his education. So now in 2009, a memorial game was played in his name when former Lagos State Governor Babatunde Fashola celebrated him with former international the Teslim Balogun Stadium. Okparaji was immortalized with a bust erected at the National Stadium in Lagos. His portrait was displayed at the 8th venues of the 2015 Federation Cup quarterfinals as well. So such a lovely one, and of course for the man Samuel Okparaji. And a whole lot of Nigerians are saying a lot needs to be done for this man.
Definitely, a whole lot need to be done for this very man. At first, I thought that one of those steps should have been to retire his jersey number. Don't forget, he often done on the jersey number 6. Then I think, and again, naming a stadium after him, it will not be a bad idea. In Napoli, they've just immortalized one of their own, talking about Maradona there. Their stadium they played, it is Diego Armando Maradona Stadium. So for me, I think they should do something in that regard.
All right, so at this point, we'll call it a wrap on the show. It seems as if we should have more time to unravel more
Honestly speaking,
about
time is
this man. Huge thanks to Kulius Loja and Michael as well.
It's always a pleasure.
We'll be back next week Saturday for another exciting edition of Sports Personality Show. Keep it locked on Atlantic Television Network. My name is Kingsley Manuel. Thanks for watching.